Most businesses do not fail because the founders or CEOs or leaders, they don't work hard. Most businesses fail because founders, CEOs lack strategy. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about how to set a winning strategy and the 3 questions to ask in order to set this winning strategy. Come with me as we dive into this episode with this topic. This is episode 11 of the CEO Leadership Strategy series, and I'll be looking at this topic today. We'll be discussing it together, how to set a winning business strategy. 3 questions to ask. Once again, welcome to the CEO Leadership Strategy series. And this episode, we are looking at how to set a winning strategy and the 3 questions you need to ask as a founder, as a leader, as a CEO. So let's dive into it together. This episode, we're going to be looking at it from different aspects. First, we're going to do a quick introduction of the topic, how to set a winning strategy, business strategy, and 3 questions to ask. Then we will do a deep dive into the concept of the topic. After that, I'm going to be discussing with you 3 case studies, real-life case studies of CEOs that faced challenges, what they did, how they did it, and the outcomes they got. Then we look at 5 key questions that have been asked on this topic, and I'm going to share my own personal experience and also learnings from case studies, from business stories, real-life cases, and discussing from my own experience. Then the call to action, what do you do? Having received this knowledge, what can you do differently? And how can we engage with this knowledge and do things better as a leader, as a founder, as a CEO? So let's dive into it. So you may have a good strategy, but you want to be able to, make sure that you have a way to implement it. If you have a good product, you have a solid team of staff or team members, passionate customers and all that, you need to still have the winning strategy. The winning strategy is like a compass for your business. And the winning strategy will help your business to navigate the times, whether it's a challenging time, whatever is happening in the economy, what's happening in the environment. How do you rate your competitors, all the things that are happening. The winning strategy will help you to stay on course and actually win at the end of the day. So we look at the 3 major concepts on this topic. I'll be talking about 3 major questions you need to ask to set that winning business strategy. The 3 questions, if you're a founder, if you're a CEO, what are the things that you want to ask to make sure that you stay on course, you actually define your strategy right, and you get things properly done. So the first question is, how do we compete? If you have a business, you want to ask yourself that question. How do I compete in this business? You want to look at a playing field. What's the playing field like? What is the business environment like? What is your industry? What is your market like? And you look at the entire playing field. Look beyond your product, your own service. Look at the entire playing field, and you also want to look at your market segment, your geographical territory, what happens there, who are your target customers, and how are you going to distribute your services, how are you going to distribute your product, if it's a product you sell. I'm going to ask you to ask yourself these 3 questions. And these questions will reveal where you stand in terms of your strategy. Number 1, are you a premium brand or a cost leader? This service or products you want to sell, are you a premium brand in that industrial market, or are you a cost leader? Are you going to be offering affordable services or product to the customer? Because if you don't define this, you will not know where you play. And your target market or customer are actually different, or whether you're a premium brand or you're a cost leader. The second question you want to ask yourself about how to compete, or how do you compete, is, are you targeting small businesses or companies or enterprise customers? You want to be able to answer that question. Is your business for small businesses, SMEs, or enterprise customers, or large corporates? And the third questions about how do you compete is, are you operating in a developed market or an emerging market, or emerging economy? Because the way to go about business in these two environments are totally different. While this video will not be very exhaustive, and that's why we provide consulting services, it will serve as a guide for you on where to look and what are the areas to look at. And if you need further help, you can reach out to us for consulting services, where we can actually do your strategy for you and handhold you and help you to map out your plan. For example, I'll share the example of Netflix. Netflix competed in the DVD rental business, but they shifted by playing in the field of streaming and global content production. So they were able to, move into something more premium, and they changed the game because they now move from, being a cost leader, a different kind of business where there's renting DVD, to actually developing their own content and streaming via technology. It became more premium, and it provided more convenience for customers, more options. The experience was so powerful that people were really willing to pay more for it at the end of the day. So the second major question you need to ask is, how do we win as a business? Once you know your battlefield, you know your field of business, you know your market, you know your industry, and you're able to try to define those three questions under how you compete. Now you want to ask yourself, how do we win in this business? And how to win, is about thinking about, how do I win a battle? Because you're at battle, you're in a battle. How do you win? And this, how do you win, is talking about your value proposition. What's your value proposition? The first thing I want you to think about, or you should think about as a leader, as a founder, as a CEO, is, am I winning, or are we winning by being cheaper? Are we winning by cost leadership? Number two, are we winning by being better? That means creating a better service, a better product, a better experience for our customer. And that is called differentiation. And the third is, are we winning? Are we going to win by being faster, more convenient, or more personalized? And that's where you're going to look at how you're going to deliver your differentiation. Is it going to be through technology? Is it going to be through exceptional customer experience, where you're going to have highly trained, highly professional people to actually interface with clients and provide out-of-the-world customer experience for them? The bottom line on how you're going to win is that you must develop a clear competitive advantage, that will be hard for competitors to copy. Because the truth about it is that you already have competitors in the market doing what you're doing. You must have understudied them to find out, how are they doing what they're doing? What are the things they're doing very well? So you already have access to that information. So your goal is now to develop a clear advantage over existing competitors and how they are delivering the services or their products. How am I going to do mine better? And that is what a competitive advantage is all about. So by answering these questions on how you win, you'll be able to know how to develop that competitive advantage. The third question we need to answer on that is deep dive. To answer that question is, how do we sustain success? Now, the first thing we did was to talk about, how do we compete? The second is, how do we win? Now, once you get it right and you are winning, how do I sustain the success? You must have it right, clearly mapped out at the beginning. And this is not about being defensive, and all that. It's about a long-term approach, having a long-term advantage, and how you defend your success over the long term. So it's not a short-term thing. How do I have a long-term advantage at defending my success? What are the capabilities I will need to develop? What are the capabilities I will need to develop in my team? I, as a leader, what do I need to develop? What are the capacity, the capability I needed to develop? What is the capability and capacity that needs to be developed with my team? Then the next is, how do I protect, my customer relationship? How do I protect my organizational culture? How do I protect my company's culture? And if you're dealing in a business or in a market where you use a lot of technology, how do I protect our intellectual property? How do I protect our technology, our tech, to make sure that it's not hijacked? We're in the days of cybersecurity, where there are very, very experienced cyber criminals out there that make money from attacking business, IT infrastructure, and stealing their data, stealing their information. You must be able to protect your company's data, your company's business assets, critical business assets, which are your information, and make sure that you actually are in good hands in terms of IT, protection of your business services, information, and critical assets, making sure that cybersecurity protocols are in place and you have a good protection for your business. Then how do I evolve before the market shifts? The market is dynamic. And the reason why it's dynamic is that it's like a game. And in a game, you have opponents. And the aim of the opponent is to score, is to win the game. What it means is to go faster than you, go better, acquire more customers, even take your customers, and win the game. So they're actually on the offensive against you. Just like in a game of football, for example. You're playing on the side, your opponent is playing on the other side. Your opponent is always moving against you. And your goal is also to move against your opponent to make sure that you are able to play, to win on their side and score the goal. That's what it's all about. So the market is ever dynamic. The market will not be stationary. The market will not be stagnant because there are many players in the market and they are trying to win. So the question is, how do I evolve before the market shifts? So you must be futuristic in your thinking. And that's why as a leader, as a founder, as a CEO, you must spend a lot of time to actually think strategy, to think vision, to think long term. A critical part of your time every day, every week, every month is to continue to iterate on your strategy and your vision. This is the vision. This is what we want to achieve. Where are we on the road to that achievement of that vision? And you must set out quality time to achieve this constantly to be able to win. When you find out your strategy and how to sustain it, it's going to be the most challenging thing. For example, look at Apple. Apple has been able to sustain its success through a very, very, solid ecosystem that has a lot of benefits, a lot of goodies, out of the world experience for users, a very solid design philosophy where their design is totally exceptional. And they have a strong recurring revenue model from highly satisfied customers that giving them their loyalty, and that's how they're sustaining their own success. There are some frameworks that I like to discuss on how to actually achieve the strategy to, map out the strategy on how to compete, how you win, and how to sustain your success. And I'm going to be sharing two major frameworks, which are known in the business world, taught in business schools, used by most successful companies in mapping out the strategy and their competitive advantage. The first is the SWOT analysis, which is a framework that tries to, prepare you as you develop your competitive advantage. The SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Concerning strengths, what do we do well? You want to ask yourself that question in your business. What are we good at? What are our strong points? On weaknesses, what are the things we need to fix? What are the things we are not doing well? Where are we lagging behind? Where are the areas where our competitors are better than us? Then on the opportunities, you want to look at how and where can we grow? What are the areas for improvement? What can we do to actually achieve these areas of improvement? What can we do better? How can we develop capacity, and where do we develop that capacity? And this particularly is also looking at opportunities in the market. Where are there loopholes in the market for growth? What are the areas where customers are yearning for something new, for something better that has still not been addressed in the market? What are the dynamics of the market doing to shape the market, and where is the market headed, so that we can position ourselves on time and actually take advantage of this opportunity? Then the last one is threats. What are the things that can disrupt our business? What are the things our competitors are doing that can take us off the market, that can take our customers from us, that can take our businesses from us? You want to be able to answer those questions and find out what are the threats to your business and what are the things that can disrupt your business, that can make your business fail. So those are the SWOT analysis. You want to use that. The second framework that is very important in, mapping out a winning business strategy is the Porter's 5 forces, which is used in strategic management and strategy, actually. The Porter's 5 forces look at, the forces on a business, forces that are at play in a market or in an industry. And you need to be aware of these forces in creating your strategy, in developing your competitive advantage, as we have discussed above. So the first we want to look at is, what's the level of competition in this industry? What's the level of competitive rivalry in these businesses? For example, how many competitors, how fierce in the competition or this competition? What are the resources at the disposal of your competitors? If you want to go head-to-head with a multinational, for example, that has a lot of capital, that has a lot of structure, that's probably been in the business for about 50 years and above, you need to know what they bring to the table, their strength, their might. Because if you are just starting business, if you are a startup, you need to be able to face, the elephants in the business. That's the truth. So what's the level of competitive rivalry, and how fierce is that competition? Because you are just coming to the game, you have to be ready to play at the level of the rivalry. You must have the capacity to play at that level. The second is, what are the threats to my business as a new entrant? What are the threats of new entrants? Even when you enter the business, after you have entered, what are the threats that can come in from other people that are still going to enter to come and attack your market share? You need to be able to analyze that. And the third is the threat of substitutes. What are the other businesses or services that can serve as a substitute to your business? Because when people are trying to make a decision, there's always an opportunity cost, the principle of economics. For me to make this decision, for me to buy this product, for me to buy this service, what will I be foregoing? They are probably using a service before, they're probably using a business before, or you may be lucky, you're convincing them for the first time to actually come and actually patronize this business or this service for the first time. But there's something they are going to forego, apart from the cost. It's possible they were using something before in replacement for this business, or that was providing the same purpose or function for them. Then they are not trying to replace you with that same product. So what are the threats to substitute? Because other substitutes can show up. in the future to your own business too. Alternatives. What are the threats? You must be able to identify what these things are and know where you stand in terms of competitive advantage. The fourth one is bargaining power of buyers. What are the bargaining power of buyers? Buyers that you're going to be pitching to buy your product, to buy your services. What kind of power do they have to negotiate with you? Because if customers have so much power that they can negotiate so hard below your profitability margin, then you're going to be running the business at a loss. So you must be able to present the business at a price point that is profitable for you. Or worst case scenario, you break even within an initial period to be able to get market share. Worst case scenario. But if you're going to be running as a loss, for how long is that going to be? Vis-a-vis the bargaining power of customers. So buyers and customers have a lot of power. You want to be able to assess how high that power is. That's going to help you to plan how your value proposition is going to be. Because if your value proposition is not strong enough, customers will not put enough value on your business, on your service, to be able to pay something that will make you at least break even and make profit from your business. They'll price you down. Also realize that there are competitors in the business. The level of rivalry also comes in here into the buying power of the customer. If there's a lot of very high competitive rivalry in the market, the customers tend to have higher buying power. What it means is that your other competitors will be helping the buyers to negotiate your price down because they have options. Competition is rife, and you have a challenging negotiation because of the strong buying power. And the last of the Potter's 5 forces is the bargaining power of suppliers. If you have a business that you rely on suppliers to feed you raw materials and input into making your product or your services, the bargaining power of your suppliers, you have to really consider it in your competitive advantage and your value proposition, because you must be able to negotiate with your supplier to actually get the input or the raw materials at the lowest cost possible. For example, if you are trying to differentiate yourself as a cost leader, this is very, very important. The bargaining power of your suppliers are very important. And it's not just about raw materials. If you're in the service industry, you use a lot of services, a lot of software, service, softwares for your program, for your service, a lot of things you use to run your companies. Maybe Office 365, AI tools, a lot of things, software, cybersecurity, softwares, tools, and things like that you need to deploy. You have to have a website, you have to run it, you have to maintain it, you have to have some things in the cloud, your business information in the cloud and things like that. Those vendors, whether local and international, that supply all these things that you use, tools you use, are also suppliers. So you must be able to manage your costs, your running costs, and make sure that you are able to, to actually remain profitable and win at the end of the day. So these frameworks, the SWOT analysis, Potter's 5 forces, in addition to the approach to your strategy, how to compete, how to win, and how to sustain your success are very important in achieving, your goal, in winning, by setting your business strategy. You've asked those 3 questions. You also need to examine them under your SWOT and the Potter's 5 forces. Now, we come to the next segment of this video. We'll be talking about 2 case studies. And the first one is a case study on Microsoft under Satya Nadella. I like this guy a lot. So I'll use him as many times as possible to discuss a lot of these principles. And it's also good because it's a company that is very popular. So it's highly relatable. You can actually, when I talk about some of these popular companies, you can resonate with the things we talk about because you probably have used the service before, And you noticed when they were actually making these strategic decisions, and you were part of it because you're a customer. I was also part of it. And I'll be sharing this experience. So under Satya, when Satya Nadella as a CEO of Microsoft, he did some strategic repositioning for the company. As of 2014, Microsoft had lost a lot of relevance, in the mobile world. I know they bought Nokia. They're trying to push Windows Mobile. I don't think it worked very well. I used it at that time. I bought those phones, but there were some issues and all that. There were notes for Windows and Office at that time, but they were not really going fast, because a lot of disruption in markets, just like the Potters 5 forces and all that. So what did Satya do differently? So what he did, the first thing he did, and I noticed this, and I'm going to share my own experience, as a CEO and as a CEO, when Microsoft was making these changes. Satya Nadella redefined where Microsoft competed. He moved the company from an operating software company to a cloud-first company, mobile-first enterprise solutions provider. What they did is that, they moved the company to cloud. All their products and services, they were to deploy it through the cloud. I remember before you went to buy a Microsoft product, you go to an IT store, you buy a CD, you download Word, Microsoft Office, and the software onto your computer and things like that. Then they now transition into cloud. All those services were now available on cloud. And they also deploy, the mobile first strategy, and were able to provide their services to enterprises, to corporations, to companies on mobile. So everything you could do on your computer as a staff of a company, you can now do on your phone, because phones were not having a lot of computing. They were able to do a lot of things better. They could browse. They were now moving to mobile, a lot of apps. So it transitioned all those products and services to apps. He embraced them on Apple Store and the Android Store. So you could download Microsoft Office, all those things as a app on mobile. And it was also available as a software as a service through the cloud. Then he focused on Azure, that's cloud, a cloud architecture products. And they developed it to move all their products there. They started building a lot of AI tools and functions into their products. And they did a lot of collaboration with a lot of developers and all that through the ecosystem they built. And the most important thing is that he emphasized platform over products. So they move all their services, products onto platform, onto cloud, onto apps, mobile and cloud. And it actually did things better. I remember that this improved their level of security, because when they moved things on the cloud, they were able to develop strong firewalls for these products in the cloud. So for an attacker to actually break into their system was very, very difficult. It was very, very difficult. Unlike before, that everything was done locally. You buy a CD, you download it on your computer, everything is running on a computer. Now it's now cloud-based, and they develop a solid security architecture for their products, for you to penetrate it, and that's when they move from Office to Office 365, Office 365, on a cloud platform, and the protection was massive. I remember my own company had a cyber attack before their transition. And remember we moved to Office 365 and noticed a difference in security. No more cyber attacks. It was difficult for cyber criminals to actually attack and actually intercept your information with the whole product and service. But with cloud, it was different. And the results were that Microsoft, immediately now became one of the top cloud service providers globally. And they started competing head to head with AWS, Amazon, Web Services, and Google Cloud, as one of the most valuable companies in the world today. That resonated with the market capitalization, earnings, share prices, and all that. And the company repositioned and started doing better after that. The second case study is that of mistakes made by J.C. Penney. Strategic missteps made by J.C. Penney, the massive departmental store, the competitor to the Walmart, under Ron Johnson as CEO. And what was the problem then? J.C. Penney, a legacy retail chain, departmental store, was struggling, and there were a lot of declining sales, relevance, and things like that. So when the CEO came, he attempted to change and actually solve that problem. And what did he do? What I think he attempted to do? It was coming from Apple retail. So he wanted to deploy some of his experience at Apple and do things differently with that knowledge, with that experience. And listen very well, founders, CEO leaders. At times you may be very brilliant. You may have all the ideas, but your ideas must be tested. Your ideas must resonate with the market. So let's see what happened. So what he tried to do was, he came with this idea that just remove all the discount pricing and sales promotions that normally happen at the departmental store, just like the Walmart and all that. They're always having, promotions, sales, discounts, and all that. So he removed all that. And he tried to create an upscale, boutique feel departmental store, just like Apple. Apple is upscale. It's coming from that kind of brand where they sell a lot of value. And was trying to change that. The challenge he made is that he failed to test with the customers. And he ignored, what the core audience, the target market expectations were. He did not test the strategy very, very well with the customer or the target audience. And what was the outcome at the end of the day? There was a massive drop in revenue. Customers were confused. They felt annihilated. They didn't feel that the departmental store was for them because it was not addressing the things that they believed in. And at the end of the day, the board of the company eventually replaced him because the company was not doing well. And what's the lesson in this case study? If you have a bold strategy, a very good strategy, it's not enough. A bold strategy, a good strategy can fail if it does not properly align with your customers. So you need to get customer insights, to be able to define your strategy properly. Even if you have an idea, that idea must first be tested with customers. If customers don't get the buy-in, remember, your revenues, your income is going to come for the customer. So if the customer do not buy into this idea, they don't buy into this bold strategy you have, it's not going to work. And you will not be able to execute it properly. And that's where J.C. Penney made that mistake. And that's what happened. The company had challenges and they had to change the CEO. And they went back to review the strategy and try to. Eventually, the company was sold to another entity. And, things have not been the same since then. And they try to recover from those losses, at the end of the day. So we'll come to the next segment. We're asking 5 very realistic questions that have been asked before about this topic, questions that in my mentoring, in my CEO coaching, with CEOs and leaders have come up. And I would like to share my own experience and my own take on this question. The first question is, how do I define where to compete if my business serves multiple markets? How do I define where to compete if my business serves multiple markets? So my own take on this question is this. Number 1, you need to prioritize your most profitable markets. You need to identify and prioritize your most profitable market and scalable market segment first. If you look at all your segments of your market and your customers, which segments are the most profitable and which segment is the most scalable? So you must be able to focus on that segment. Remember the last episode, we talked about the 80-20 rule. Most of the time, the Pareto principle, 20% of the customers generate 80% of revenue, not even less than 20%. I've seen in some instances where 10% actually generated 80% of the revenue. So where is your most profitable segment? Where are your most profitable customers? And what are the segments that can easily scale? Focus on that first. You need clarity, you need focus. Then as you do that, you address the other ones that are the 80% later. The second question is, if we are not winning yet in my business, what should we change? Should we change our strategy or stay the course? If you are not winning, if I'm not winning in my business yet, what should I change? Should I change my strategy or change the course? Well, it depends, but this is my take on it. Because every business situation and scenario is different, given all the uniqueness of that scenario, of that problem. But I would say that if your strategy is sound, but poorly executed, then you need to optimize execution. What it means is that you have a good strategy, you have a good understanding of the problem, the solution, how to go about it, vis-a-vis your customers, your competitors. But you need to work on your execution. Deliver your execution faster, better, stronger, and you solve that problem. But if the market has shifted, the market is dynamic. Remember, we said that earlier. The market has shifted, or your value proposition to cost in the eyes of customer is unclear, then it's time for you to pivot strategically. If your value proposition to customer is unclear, they don't understand what you stand for. They don't understand what you are bringing to the table. They don't understand the benefits of business style. They don't understand how you stand out. Are you differentiating yourself by better services? Are you a cost leader? They don't understand any of those things. You're either near or there. It's not clear what you are, because you can just copy people and you're just like every other person in the market and you don't stand out for anything. There's nothing unique about you. Then why should they buy from you? If you are exactly just like company A, company B, company C, exactly price for price, service for service, differentiation for differentiation, there's nothing different about you. So are you going to be a cost leader? Are you going to do service better customer experience, faster? Maybe you're using technology, your approach is better with technology, faster, better, then you stand out. So if the market has shifted, market has moved, there's a better technology, there's better experience, and you don't have those tools, you need to pivot and move strategically in that direction. For example, we're in the age of AI. If you're a founder here, you listen to this video, you're coming out with a product. Remember, a lot of people already have that product in the market. They have that software, they have that service, they have that product. What are they doing? You must be doing something differently. Something similar, the business may be similar, same industry, but what twist are you bringing to the market? Cab hailing services like Uber and the other thing came on board. Uber started dominating. Other people came, started trying to differentiate your service. There's a particular provider that provides a service where you can negotiate your fare with the driver. That's the differentiation. They want to be a cost leader. They want to be able to provide more affordable service to clients and give client opportunity to negotiate, because in some markets like Nigeria, customers love to bargain, love to negotiate. So they try to tap into that psychology. What customers will love, that experience, that, okay, I was able to bargain, I got 10% off. Some people won't buy anything from you if you're not able to give them 1% discount. No matter what you call your business, your pricing, no matter how much discount you have applied beforehand, you must give them something off at the time of purchase, or else they won't buy from you. So I think that's what they try to latch into. So the market has moved, you may need to pivot and change your strategy. And the third question, can small businesses use Spotify forces? Yes, it's a very direct question answer. Small businesses can use Spotify forces. Whether you're local, you're small, it's not for big companies, it's for everybody. Understanding your competitive landscape, your rivals, your suppliers, your buyers is very, very important. It helps you to make better decisions and avoid blind spots, as a business and as a leader. The fourth question, how often should I review my strategy? This is a very, very good question. Very, very good question. And my answer to that is, based on my own experience, at least quarterly. And most board meetings for companies are actually done quarterly. So you should review your strategy quarterly and make sure that you are on point, you're watching all the moving parts, and you're able to iterate and pivot where necessary, adjust some things. Your strategy cannot be cast in stone. You must be able to adjust it from time to time. So quarterly is good, especially if you're in high growth industries where things are very dynamic, competition is very fierce, then you may do it annually. If your business is very stable, it's not very, very dynamic, it's not very competitive. But I would advise quarterly. You want to include strategic reviews in your leadership retreats. Leadership retreats are very important. I provide strategy retreats for companies, and that's what we do. We look at the strategy, and we're able to advise on the way to go and work hand in hand if they need consulting to actually hold them by the hand and help to resolve those problems and carve out a strategy. So you want to do quarterly, you want to do yearly if you think things are stable. I would advise quarterly to rhyme with board meetings. But before that, in the business itself, internally, you should have weekly review meetings where you look at dashboards, monthly business review meetings where you summarize the timelines, the milestones, the KPIs that have been achieved at the end of each month. So weekly management meetings, review meetings, looking at data, key metrics, the monthly, to look at how people are achieving the KPIs that are set for them. Then the last question, the fifth question, what's the first thing to do when starting a new strategy planning cycle? What's the first thing to do? For me, I would say data. Data is very important. You need data to plan. You need data for you to have the right insight from your customers. Data is very important. You want to have market trends. Where's the market going? You want to look at your performance, the capacity. What performance is the current capacity bringing or generating? All this fit into your strategic planning, and you use it to now answer those three questions, And those three questions again, how do we compete? How do we win? And how do we succeed our success? So when you get this data will help you to answer these questions in line with the SWOT analysis and the Porter's 5 forces, and make good decisions. So and that's how you use data. And when you answer those questions, you work around those frameworks, SWOT analysis, Porter's 5 forces, update your competitive advantage, your value proposition, and make sure that you pivot where necessary. Nothing is cast in stone. Keep reviewing it. Have your regular reviews, monthly for your management team, weekly with your board, where you look at the strategy and you pivot where necessary and you take action. Very, very important. Remember that it's not about just working out as a CEO. It's about working on the right strategy and knowing that strategy is not cast in stone. You have to keep reviewing it. Every successful business answers these three questions clearly. How do we compete? How do we win? And how do we sustain our success? I'd like to thank you if you have watched this video up to this point. I'll appreciate you. I thank you for your time. And I want to believe that I'm able to serve as a guide on this topic to help you think things clearly and take better decisions. I'd like to hear from you. What are the strategic challenges you are facing right now in your business? And do you think we can be of help to you defining your strategy providing our advisory and consulting services to your business. I would like you to drop your comments, share your own experience, and please use the word strategy in your comments so that I know that you watch it and, use the word strategy in your comments. I'd like to hear from you. Please don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And don't forget to hit the, notification bell so that you can get reminders when this video is about to come up. And please don't forget to share this video with another founder, with another CEO, with another leader who you think needs this message. Thank you a lot for watching. Our next episode, we'll be talking about why most businesses fail. That's episode 12. So watch out for it next week. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I look forward to working with you, hearing from you, and receiving comments, ideas about maybe other topics I can talk about in my future videos. See you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.